Welcome to the Phillip Wiley Show. Take a look behind the curtain of professional hacking and hear compelling discussions with guests from diverse backgrounds who share a common curiosity and passion for challenges and their job. And now, here's your host, offensive security professional, educator, mentor, and author, Phillip Wiley.
Hello and welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Phillip Wiley, and today I'm very excited to have my former manager and friend, Don Dobson. Don was one of my favorite all-time managers. We worked together at U.S. Bank and was really great and supportive in where I kind of started my speaking career. Him and Todd, one of his direct reports, were very supportive of us going out, doing community things, and understood the need for that. And Don is really big in the community. He's supporting others through mentoring. He's very involved in the local university. Recently, we got to meet for the first time at BloomCon at the university that Don does a lot of outreach and work through, as well as his daughter attends there. It was a great conference and good to finally meet you in person, Don. Thanks for joining.
Well, thank you so much, Phil. It was fantastic seeing you a couple of weeks ago. The conference was great. I just enjoyed all the collaboration. I can honestly do it over again.
Yeah, those are great opportunities, and it's always, I liked you before, but just really getting to know more about how involved you are with helping others and mentoring in the community gives me even that much more respect for you.
I definitely appreciate it, Phil. It's one of the things that I truly value, and I almost think it's part of our responsibility to continue to help others, especially those coming new into the industry, as well as those who are just at this point, learning about the industry, maybe deciding if they want to go into that career space. So, again, I think it's fantastic. I love this format, and I appreciate you having me on here today.
Oh, it's an honor, and it's great that you're sharing this information because, I run into people at different conferences that listen to the podcast and that I've never met before, the people it's reaching, because, we can reach so many people on LinkedIn or other social media, but the nice thing about podcast platforms and YouTube and those media types that people can find you without knowing you or knowing any of your connections, which is a good way for us to get our message out there that, just social media and conferences, don't reach those people sometimes.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Even just this morning, I had someone reach out, a brand new connection. And one of the nice things that at least I like to do, and I might want to encourage others, is, when someone reaches out, I usually ask them, please tell me, what you're doing, these days, what projects are you working on, or what, key information that you're trying to research, or, how you're trying to approach coming into the industry. And, this person, they're just looking to come into the industry, trying to learn, we'll call it, ironically enough, more about pen testing. So I passed him, some information, and again, shared, let's stay in touch. So it's just one of those things that, regularly come up. And I truly am very fortunate. I'll be honest with you, very fortunate, Phil.
Yeah, one of those nice side effects to this is that you don't realize when you get into this, because I kind of shifted my focus in 2018 to do more mentoring, speaking, and trying to help others, being more outward focused. And its interesting side effect is how you feel so much better and you get so much opportunities when you're helping other people. And a lot of people in the industry see that and they respect that. And so it's a good side effect. I mean, people like ourselves, that's not really what you start out to do. You really went looking for the benefits for yourself, but it was a benefit.
Yep. Yeah. It's kind of interesting how that works out, but I definitely agree. There are, other benefits that you derive from it. And at the same time, you're just taking what might be, a little bit of your day that might make such a big difference to someone else. I think that's really what it's all about. If you have like literally a group of folks that continue to do that, it kind of builds upon itself, a little bit of a snowball effect, right? Where you start that off. In fact, I saw, yet another post a little bit earlier today where there's a group, just looking to do very similar things, just starting with their own company and then, going to go a little bit broader, and they're encouraging others, and I think that's great. The mentorship, the networking, uh, getting some people some hands-on type experience. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, one of the things, take a step back and kind of discuss, why don't you share with our listeners your background, kind of how you got started, your career path, and kind of what you're doing these days?
Certainly. Yeah, I started, honestly, as a pen tester at Ernst& Young. So it was really, performing, infrastructure, pen testing across multiple platforms, industries, government type environments. Really at we'll call it the dawn of that interconnectedness, right? Uh, from there, went to a small company called MBNA. There might be some folks that, are aware of who MBNA was. It's a credit card company that was purchased by Bank of America. But that organization, they brought me in, to their network engineering and architecture group. So I really focused in on, building infrastructure, firewalls, IDSs, deploying routers, working in the data centers, lifting tile, running cable, you know, all the interesting things, right? Um, but I did that for a little bit of time, a couple of years or whatever, and then moved over back into the offensive work, doing pen testing of applications and infrastructures. Uh, Stayed with that for another year or two, then transitioned into security architecture and design. Um, at that point, I think the bank was acquired by Bank of America, and continued on that path, um, down the security architecture route, designing frameworks and templates and different solutions. Also learned, a lot of interesting things, how to do, efficiency work, picked up a green belt in Six Sigma, focusing on efficiency and automation. Had an opportunity to manage workers, not only in the US, but also, Canada and Europe. So, you know, a pretty wide range of opportunities there at that bank. Uh, After that, I guess, experience, went on to U.S. Bank. And there, I really focused on a variety of different technical security areas like AppSec, security awareness, vulnerability assessment and remediation, pen testing, mobile security. We set up the first red team there. So a lot of different areas that I spent some time at U.S. Bank, really just focusing in on, improving the program, building out the programs, uh, you know, hiring in, I probably hired in at 3 dozen or so different people at that point, all over a span of a number of years. And to tell you the truth, it was a great experience. Um, I think, as you kind of look back on it a little bit, you take a look at, some of the accomplishments, expanding, awareness, expanding the training program, the group of people that you're very fortunate enough to, lead and help manage, right? Or at least try not to get in their way a little bit, right? You know, but now I primarily focus in on doing security tech implementation, consulting, security assessments, deploying security controls for different organizations, making recommendations for securing applications and infrastructures, not only on premise but in the cloud. So it's been an interesting, we'll call it, ride for me as far as a career goes. I get the opportunity to, meet and talk with a lot of different individuals, a lot of different folks who have, great experience, even beyond, my capabilities, which is always a pleasure, always, trying to learn. So um, that is, I guess the key things I want to share about, some of my background, Phil.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your background. So, when you were moving more from the technical side, more into the management role, how difficult was of a transition was that for you?
Well, you would think it might be, relatively straightforward, but, um, you know, one day, I approached my boss, right? And I said to him, look, I have an interest in taking on some more responsibility. I had already had a pretty good track record, being a security architect, working, as a pen tester, working in network architecture, doing a little bit of consulting, by that time. And I, shared with my boss. I said, hey, look, I would really like to, take on some more responsibility and at some point, transition into a management role, right? Uh, and it's one of the things where you have to, kind of carefully share, some of your accomplishments, but at the same time, share a little bit of vision, of how you might support and lead a team. So for me, that conversation went very well. But I'll tell you that, it's not one of the things where it, happened overnight. So maybe 6, 8 months later, boss, called me into his office, said, hey, here's an opportunity for you to step into a lead role, a management role. And, and that really, was the start of, me transitioning, into, a leadership role. You have to take, that initiative, right? And then be proactive, reach out to your leadership and find out where there are like opportunities for some career growth. For me, it paid off, that approach. And, I would definitely recommend to anyone, take charge of your career growth, right? Build that solid track record of, your different accomplishments, make sure you can describe, what it is that you've delivered, and work on both technical skills, work on soft skills, right? Things such as communication, problem solving, right? You want to be able to, provide solutions on a regular basis, and most importantly, teamwork. Everybody wants folks, that they really like to work with. And at that stage, when you feel, you're about at that point, approach your manager, and express your interest in, taking on that opportunity. Uh, Taking that initiative, being proactive, really makes the difference.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I experienced and witnessed from your management style is the fact that you were very approachable and you listen to people. It's the difference between being a leader and being a boss. You were encouraging and empowering people to make decisions and to help out in the organization, not just forcing things on people. So I think that's a good approach. And, when you're working for a manager like that, it's a lot easier to go above and beyond to help that manager be successful, to help the overall team be successful.
I definitely appreciate that, Phil. Yeah, I've been fortunate to have a lot of great people on my team, over the past, number of years, yourself included, right? And a number of others, that were your peers or managers in different roles. And, each and every one of them, they had like certain skill sets, certain mindsets, right? They were definitely folks that wanted to help the team. They think, broader, than themselves. And they really focused on, trying to do what was best, at the time, for the organization, in whatever role it happened to be, right? It sounds, I don't want to call it simple, right? But it is definitely the little things that I always say that kind of make the difference, right? You have the bigger items, and then making sure that you close out that last mile there.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of cases, I know based on my experience, I don't have the management background, but sometimes overcomplicating things makes it more difficult than it has to be.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm a big fan of keeping things very simple, very straightforward. Don't send a long list of requirements when two or three will do. If you need the details, kind of add those to the end, or kind of attach them to a longer note where you have a summary at the top, right? So that's really how I look at things, right? You keep things simple, you be practical about it, give folks the ability and empower them to make those decisions, you know. And if they have questions, you just simply say, have a question or you have a concern, you're not necessarily 100% positive on, a direction you want to go, just bounce it off me. Takes a moment. You get a simple answer, and, you kind of move forward.
Yeah, one of the things I thought that you did a great job with too is recognizing talent, finding people. So I would assume from your background as being a pen tester yourself, made it a little more easy for you to find people for your team.
Well, yeah, I certainly, did have we'll call it maybe a leg up on some folks. I really knew what I was looking for pen testing skill sets, or skill sets that you want to bring into an organization that are not only, call it, skills that you could leverage today, but folks who would want to upskill, over a period of time, right? So that's, not only, the technical traits, but also, some of those soft skills that I mentioned, a little earlier, right? Folks that have that desire, that are willing to do some continual learning, especially on their own, where it's, kind of crucial, especially in this environment, right? Cybersecurity is constantly changing. So ensuring that you have folks that want to, not only join the organization, but then, have a pathway, right, to fulfill maybe some career aspirations that they have, you can provide them with, the opportunities. All right, well, let me kind of map out where you want to be in the organization, a few years down the road.
Yeah, kind of speaking on that same subject before I forget to ask your opinion on it. So, what are some tips you have for acquiring and retaining talent?
Well, one of the things that I do is I reach out to and I partner with, my local university, right? So I'm very fortunate to be close to Bloomsburg University. They've got an excellent digital forensics and cybersecurity program. From that group, I've had literally the pleasure of being able to hire maybe a handful of people in various roles over the past number of years, and I think that's a great, we'll call it, ground for just about any organization or any company, right, that wants to go and identify resources and not only kind of help your own team by building up your own talent pipeline, but also bring in, fresh perspectives, right? From, the, if it's a local technical schools or a local university or a 2-year program, whatever it happens to be, they're out there. And everybody is, we'll call it, somewhat aware of what's in their general area. Now, with it being, not only, we'll call it a little bit more geographic diversity out there. You're not necessarily locked into just your local candidates. You can pick remote candidates, and I think again, that's another opportunity to just expand your talent pool. And I have been so fortunate, to have a pretty good partnership going on 10, 15 some odd years, with the local university here.
Yeah, I really think your approach too kind of helps with, everyone talks about the skills gap and the shortage of professionals, but I think that type of approach, finding, graduates from these universities and colleges that have that background, I think it's a lot easier to find people than what, a lot of people are led to believe. What do you think about that?
You know, I don't want to give away all the trade secrets, but I will tell you, I don't generally have much of a challenge in finding resources. And, I've either been very lucky or very fortunate. But, you know, identifying, key people, kind of, keeping track of, where they are in their career, whether they're, a little bit further on, a little more senior, they're a good leader, they're a good manager, or they're coming into the, we'll call it coming into the field. I can always reach out and, kind of generally identify, a person that is looking for an opportunity or might fit an opportunity. And like even as most recently, I may have been posting on, LinkedIn several weeks ago. I get, a number of opportunities that literally, come into my inbox on a pretty regular basis. I'm just trying to, I don't even do, recruiting or anything like that. I'm just trying to match up, these roles that come in with some of the people that I know who are looking for opportunities. It's just amazing to me, and it's literally folks from not only here, in the U.S., but they're over in the U.K. or people that I've connected with from over in India. It's tremendous, with the way social media kind of gives you that opportunity to talk to literally anyone, anywhere.
Yeah, very, very true. It's amazing how small social media and the internet has made the world a lot smaller.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I definitely agree. It's such a great opportunity. And at the same time, it just gives you a little bit more reach to, try to do the things that you enjoy doing, right? Whether it's helping people, trying to help organizations, you name it.
And one of the things too that I think is worth noting is kind of discussing personal branding, because one of the things I've really noticed a big difference in your personal branding over the past year. You're really putting content out there to share with people and try to help others. So what are your recommendations for others that are wanting to leverage LinkedIn more to build their personal brand and to help others?
Yeah, I think it's, very important. Your personal brand, follows you, right? Beyond, just a company or an organization either that you're working for, or that, maybe you're just, leading at that time, right? So it's your personal brand that follows you. And on LinkedIn, you'll see, at least in my feed, I see an awful lot of content of people that are, doing such an exceptional job on personal branding. Definitely better than I. But I kind of take the opportunity to learn from them, right? And I think that's how it goes. As everyone is, at some point, they're along their own journey, and you're trying to help the folks that are, a little bit behind you in their journey. So for personal branding, definitely make sure that your profile is up to date. Have a very clean about section. What it is that you do, how you might be able to help someone or an organization. Focus in on maybe some of the key skill sets that you bring to the table, and be very clear, in your, employment experience, so people can identify those skill sets, and it's not, buried within, an awful lot of content. And then, take that further, right? You get your profile in order, then make sure that you're regularly communicating out. Literally everyone on LinkedIn started with one connection or one follower. Everyone did. So you're a little worried. Oh, I don't have, the amount of followers I want, or whatever it is. Everyone starts somewhere, right? So you kind of take it from there, and you start publishing maybe, some helpful tips or some helpful uh, pointers for folks to, kind of focus in on, or things that you know very well. And then maybe builds a little bit of a following so folks know who you are, what it is that you're providing, what kind of insights that you can share. And then they share, hey, I think it's a great idea. Let's follow Phil, or let's follow Don. Let's learn a little bit more about, their particular specialty. And that's essentially how, I don't want to say the cycle continues, but that's basically it.
Yeah, it just seems like really the key is consistency. You like the clean profile, like you mentioned, keeping it professional. One of the things I see where people make mistakes sometimes is they treat it like Facebook. You don't want to treat it like Facebook, because any of your pettiness or just negative views is going to be seen by potential employers. And sometimes that could be a knock against you if someone's considering hiring you.
Yeah, I mean, you make a great point there, Phil. It's 100% not Facebook. But, when you look at, generally any of your social media, I would definitely recommend, especially on the personal branding side of things, try to keep it consistent and clean, right? So you're not really concerned about, one post or another, if it's on, another platform, or anything like that. Folks find you there, then they can see what you're about. And it's simple and straightforward.
That's great. So kind of just out of curiosity, kind of how much has your LinkedIn following increased over the past year since you've been putting in this effort to your LinkedIn persona?
Well, interestingly enough, I really haven't run like the percentages, right? But, I probably started off with maybe, I don't know, 800 and some odd followers about a year ago. Uh, Now I'm just a little bit over 10,000. Uh, I really don't, kind of keep an eye on it, day to day, but uh, I really just try to focus in, right, on, providing value to folks, helping organizations when they reach out, helping, individuals when they reach out, try to, mentor where I can. I think all those things, that regular engagement, makes a big difference. And for me, it's very fulfilling, right? It's one of the things that I love doing. It's one of the things that I think is pretty unique about LinkedIn. And at the same time, it gives you that opportunity to, expand, like not only yourself, right? Everyone is continuously learning, and that includes me. So.
And it really looks like you take the quality over quantity approach, because there's people that I've seen. It's been truly amazing to see some people that have picked up over the past year, like 40 or 50,000 followers. A lot of cases they're sharing content, which is fine. It's a good thing to be able to share content. But I notice, like yourself, most of your content is your personal thoughts on a subject, sharing information about security best practices and resources, more original content, where some people post, and which is good. It's got its place, share a lot of content, and that's basically what they do to build a following. But I think in some cases, the quality versus quantity sometimes is going to build better opportunities for you, because if you're sharing your knowledge opposed to just sharing a lot of other resources, people kind of see, if I'm going to, get someone for consulting services, I'm going to reach out to Don because he's got original thoughts. He's sharing his experience, his background, how he does things, compared to someone that's just sharing links.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend, if you're sharing links, or wherever you're starting, right? Make sure you have, some of your like original thoughts around it, right? What are your feelings? how does this, impact you, or, may impact others, along their journey, right? I think at the same time, you can kind of then take that, right, and then go, further, get into, additional, original content. Um, you know, I like to regularly post, throughout the weekday. Sometimes I'll post on, on a Saturday, depending on, my particular mood that day, or something that comes up that I think is important to kind of address. And, consistency, I never used to have it like that, right? I might have posted, once in a while, like a year or so ago, or then I would kind of step it up to, every 2 or 3 days out of the week. Uh, then, continually, as I felt a little bit more comfortable with it, moved a little bit further in, and post, throughout the weekday and some of the weekends.
Yeah, it just really seems like the consistency thing is very important. There's a YouTube channel. The guy has a podcast. It's called The Diary of a CEO. That's pretty interesting. He
Mm-hmm.
has different guests on. The host is out of the UK. When he started out, it was just him sharing his thoughts as a CEO and experiences. And then he expanded to bringing on different guests. And one of the things he said in a recent episode, I mean, this guy is making like $1 million within the past year, a year on his podcast through sponsorships. And one of the things he said he noticed starting out was whenever he posted consistently, he had a lot of followers. If he skipped a month or several weeks, then in a lot of cases he was back to square one. And so staying consistent kept the followers up and increasing, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you're almost describing the alternate career path, right? You have folks within different organizations, trying to, leverage their skill sets, and build on that, and help secure, those environments. You have folks doing, podcasts, and education, trying to help out the community based upon their experiences. I think that journey is really interesting, right? But I think it also, kind of highlights, what you're saying, consistency, making sure that you're kind of staying up to date. You're continually, providing value out to the, well, we'll call it your market. And, it's almost a pursuit of, regular growth, right? Uh, I've been pretty fortunate to work with, some pretty nice, and we call them detail oriented mentors. When I talk about growth, I work with Andrew and Leah, Christian Lavolsi. Both of them, have that growth mindset. So that's almost an embrace of a self improvement, type activity that you're doing on a regular basis and an ongoing basis, right? Because you're never necessarily done, right? Uh, Even, at our level, right? You just keep trying to improve.
Yeah, that's a great lesson for people to listen. Sometimes we don't think about that when we get, mature in your career, is the fact that, you can continually to have mentors. There's mentors that can help you through the different phases of your career. It doesn't just start at, trying to get your foot in the door.
Yeah, it's very true. I was very fortunate, circling back to my, university days. I'd worked in, computer labs. I did, um, technical type support, fixing staff and faculty computers. But I worked for, a fantastic, boss, a fantastic mentor, Cheryl Stoller. And, she, you know, always gave you that insight on, you're going to help someone out. They've got a challenge. You're there to, try to make things better. And nothing more rewarding than doing that, right? You go take care of a challenge, you resolve it. Um, these folks, they could have, such a wide variety of backgrounds that I run into, geology to chemistry to, you know, English and art history. I love that opportunity. Yeah. could do it again.
Well, we're getting down towards the end of the episode. Is there anything you'd like to share or mention before we close out?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely gone pretty quick, Phil. But I kind of recommend to folks, definitely, cultivate those soft skills. Be patient, but also persistent, in your pursuit to build on your career. Learn from mentors, right? There are so many different on-ramps that you can take, throughout your career. And that's something I learned from Emmy Sobieski. There are so many different on-ramps that you can take. You don't want to, miss one, right? And mentors, provide you some of that guidance and provide you some additional insight. Network with professionals. LinkedIn is great. Local conferences, local volunteer organizations. Let's see if you can help out your local community organizations. It's a security item, that information security item that you can assist them with. Everyone has some challenge out there, and taking a little bit of time gives you that opportunity to kind of build on the community that you have today.
Well, thanks for taking the time out of your schedule to join me today and share your story and your advice.
Oh, thank you so much, Phil. I really appreciate the opportunity to come here and chat with you. I definitely enjoyed it.
That's great. I'm sure that a lot of people are going to get a lot of good out of this. So I look forward to seeing the response from the listeners when this is published.
Yep, that'd be fantastic. I'd be interested to see their insights as well.
Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to The Phillip Wiley Show. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. In the meantime, to learn more about Phillip, go to thehackermaker.com and connect with him on LinkedIn and Twitter @Phillip Wiley. Until next time.